Welcome back to another episode of the Align Life podcast. I am your host, Malika, and today we're going to be talking about triggers. And I felt like what better way to talk about triggers than when I'm triggered? So, not to talk about astrology, because this isn't about that, but it's playing a big part in how you experience things in life. And I know some of you might be like, "Ugh, I'm not into that." But just hear me out. So we have the asteroid Chiron, which is the wounded healer. And it's in Aries right now and it's going retrograde. And then we have the sun, which is in opposition to Pluto, which is our planet of transformation and subconscious and you know, it brings up a lot of that stuff that you bury deep within you. And then you have Chiron, which is the wounded healer, which is asking you to heal yourself. And you may not be 100% healed ever, but it's asking you to work through those issues so that you can, at least live a better life without always living from that place of trauma or pain. And so when we have a lot of that energy going on and we're with people or we're going through things and we're wondering, why am I triggered by this? And I want to be very clear that I'm not talking about triggers where someone is blatantly going out of their way to um, incite a negative response from you. I'm talking about when you're just going about your day and events and things are taking place and all of a sudden you become triggered. You're having a conversation with someone. It's just a natural flowing conversation. You become triggered and that response is building up in your body and you're wondering why. And sometimes our natural response could be to fall back. One of my natural responses is to fall back because I've been in situations before where as a highly sensitive person, as an empathic person, I've tried to express myself and I was gaslit and invalidated. My feelings were invalidated. And it made me feel like being sensitive, being very emotional, being empathic was a weakness, but it's not. It's a superpower. It really is. And I know some people are going to be like, how is that a superpower? It's a superpower because I really do feel deeply into the energies that are surrounding me from other people, from situations that are going on. It allows me to really actually be able to sympathize with them in their pain. And there's other portions of that, learning not to take on other people's drama and things that they're going through as your own. And you're going to have to learn that as a highly sensitive or empathic person. But when you're triggered, and it's bringing you back a person's energy because people can naturally emit energies without knowing that they're doing it or without intending on making you feel a certain type of way. And I look at this as a gift from God in the universe as to showing you the areas in which you still need to work on. It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's a neutral thing that is just showing up so that you can show up for yourself. So I had an experience recently. I was talking to someone and I don't like conflict um because I just don't like it. I grew up in an environment where conflict and things happened a lot in my childhood and growing up and all of that. So I'm not a big conflict person. I'm not really passive. I will address things head on now that I've been working on my healing for the last 3 years. But in the past, I just didn't like the conflict. I would only speak up if I felt so pushed that I had to. So, anyways, I had an experience. I'm talking to someone, and um, I felt like there was a miscommunication, and I'm trying to express that right. And they have a very commanding presence, and I do too. I definitely do. People tell me that all the time, but theirs was commanding in the way as like I felt like they were judging me because I am sensitive and I am empathic, right? And I felt like it just there was a disconnect because after that discussion, we kind of went our separate ways. We didn't really talk until the next day. And me sometimes overthinking can play a part. You overthink and you wonder if that overthinking is creating the issue that's not really there. So I definitely go through that process, right? I'm checking myself, checking myself like, girl, are you overreacting? What is the case may be, but I still wake up with that same feeling. And I then realized after doing a self inventory, because it is imperative that you do a self inventory. Why is this happening to me? Why am I triggered? And I realized it's because in the past, when I've expressed myself, it didn't go over well. Especially, I'm talking about with intimate relationships, friends, family, romances. I'm not talking about with people out in the street that you don't know like that, you know? And although you could feel that way, I'm not invalidating that experience for you either. But what I'm saying is, why do I feel triggered? And I realized it's because in the past, when I expressed my emotions, when I expressed how I felt a situation was going, I was gaslit, or my feelings were invalidated, or my experience in expressing myself, which has happened throughout my entire life, um, where I was gaslit or my feelings and my expression was invalidated by others of what I was experiencing. And now we know that you have to validate yourself, obviously. But I had to realize that I'm not in that situation anymore, and that no one's going to know what you're really experiencing if you don't tell them. So I gathered up my courage and I expressed to that person how I was feeling, what I'm going through, and I'm sure the conversation will progress from there. Because when you put on those big girl and big boy pants and you push past those fears, those insecurities, those past traumas, you begin to see that number one, you're stronger than you know. Number two, this thing is triggering you so that you can overcome it or at least get a grip on it, get a hold on it, right? Because you don't want to be stuck in a revolving pattern of reliving the same thing over and over again. And it's uplifting and it's empowering to know that, hey, I'm feeling this way, and it's not about blaming the other person or any, it's about opening up that dialogue to see, you know how can we move forward from this. How can, not saying they need to coddle you like you're a child or you need to coddle them, but how can we open up this safe space, this um, this dialogue to help nurture one another through whatever we're going through. And there may be instances where a person's incapable and you have to accept that and move on and find people who can do it with you. This is not about them doing it for you, but this is about them doing it with you, or at least facilitating a safe environment so that when you are expressing yourself, when you're processing, when you're working through it, that you don't feel like you have to close yourself up or shut down and not advocate for your needs. The first thing is, you know, not blaming the person. Like I said, going through the self inventory. Why is this triggering me? Why do I feel this way? What happened to me that is now creating this trigger? Okay. Do that self inventory first. Then, and only then, after you've gotten those answers that you need, then you bring it to maybe the other person's attention if it involves another person. If it doesn't involve another person, then it could be about the environment that you're in or the place. What about that place is triggering you? How can you make it better? How can you make it more safe? Even if it's within yourself, because your body is your home, and as we're in cancer season does, um, it is associated with home, not just your physical home, but your home within inside yourself. So how can you make that more of a safe space for yourself? And those are the questions that you could ask yourself if it doesn't involve another person. And when you do those things, you're liberating yourself, you're freeing yourself, you're freeing up that energy, you're allowing for that transformation to take place, that Pluto energy we were talking about at the beginning. You're allowing for that transformation. You're being very honest with yourself. And a lot of times we don't want to be honest with ourselves. And then if we have to be honest with others, like me, in that situation, telling them what I was experiencing was a scary experience for me due to the past things that I've been through. But knowing that I'm not in the past, I'm in the present. And even though I may still be experiencing those feelings of the past, doesn't mean that I'm in that situation with that same type of person who invalidated me. And so let me give this a shot. Let me try to express myself. And if it goes over well, great. And if it doesn't, then I know I need to make some adjustments. And I may need to remove myself from that type of situation with that person. So I want you to really look at triggers as teachers. I want you to look at how a trigger could be helping you to heal something within you, or helping you to learn how to be a better communicator, helping you to bridge the gap. Because a lot of those of us who have been in situations where we've been in toxic relationships with friends, family, romantic partners, and stuff like that. When we're healing and we're trying to move past that and we're entering relationships with new people, we can bring a lot of that stuff, even if we're working through it. And down the line, you could still be triggered by that. So it's key to be self-aware about that and just know that, hey, this isn't the same situation. Talk about it. Get uncomfortable with being comfortable. I probably didn't say that, but get uncomfortable and be comfortable in the uncomfortability. And that's easier said than done, I know. But you never know what level of support you can get from someone else or from opening that space up within you. So that's what I did with that person. I expressed myself. I'm opening myself up to receive whatever the universe, God, and the cosmos has in store for me. And if it needs be that I need to not continue that relationship, I won't. If it is that I can find trust and find safety and nurturing within that relationship, then great. Great for me. Great for the healing. Great for me standing up for my needs. Because closed mouths truly don't get fed. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to analyze your triggers. And I don't always want you to jump. They did this and why? And like all of that English and always pushing it to the other person, right? See what it's trying to tell you. Triggers are great teachers. I think I did a YouTube video about this, but there's levels to it, you know? And again, this is not about people intentionally trying to trigger you and make you or situations intentionally doing everything is happening for our highest good. And yes, there are people out there that want to just do bad things and harmful things. But that's not what I'm talking about in this situation. So, anyways, I hope you got something out from this podcast. I really, really enjoy doing these podcasts. They're not scheduled, so it's just when I feel called to do it. You can connect with me on Instagram at the Align Life with Malika. Um, and I believe it's linked somewhere wherever you're watching this, but it's the Aligned Life with Malika. Um, so and that's all one word. Okay. It might be, yeah, it is with. Anyways, I'm ending this podcast. Do be gentle with yourself, have compassion for yourself, love on yourself, and as always, peace and love, and I'll see you in the next episode.